Good day, everybody. I am going to give you a talk on the Government Employees Pension Fund. I want to make it very clear that I'm not employed or not connected to GEPF at all. I do this in my personal capacity. I've been doing this for about 8 years. I'm a retired principal of John Basica High School in East London, and I do this on a regular basis, and I've got great experience on this topic. It is empowering teachers and other government workers who lack this information, and I find this will be a very useful bit of information for everybody concerned. I will now start with my first slide. We have here PIC. PIC stands for Public Investment Corporation, and we all belong to this body here, GEPF, and many people are quite worried, will there be enough money in the pension fund when they retire? To dispel some of your fears, I can assure you that the GEPF presently, the total investment is plus 2.3 trillion rand, and at the present moment they are 110% funded. By that I mean, if they have to close shop tomorrow, they have enough money to pay everybody out, and they will still have reserves of another 10%. Let's start with the retirement age. Retirement age is actually 60 years, and that you go with full benefits. 65 is compulsory to retire, and we also have year point 3 here, 55 years of age, you can go on early retirement, but there are penalties involved here. For example, for every year from age 55 to age 60, there's a penalty of 4% per annum. So if you go off at 55, then it means that you are going to lose 5 years times 4% is 20% of your lump sum money, which is called gratuity, and as well as your annuity, which is your monthly pension. So there's a huge amount to be lost. Gratuity here, next point here, is actually, we refer to as the lump sum. It is approximately 1/3 of your pension value, and the other 2/3 is the pension part called annuity. Now, pension is guaranteed for life. In other words, until you pass on, they'll have to pay, whether you live to 60 or 80 or 100, they have to pay you. The only drawback, perhaps, if I can call it that, when you retire, your pension is guaranteed for 5 years only, meaning after 5 years of pension life and you pass on, there is no pension money left. There are other benefits, many other benefits, but it is only guaranteed for the first 5 years of your pension life. We'll come to the other benefits at a later stage. So I can move on now to the next slide. We have here a nomination form called WA 1002. This is a very, very important form to fill in. When any educator starts teaching, that is the time you are supposed to complete this form. It is basically a beneficiary form. On this form, you have to indicate if something should happen to you, what must happen to your money. And this is always expressed as a percentage. For example, you say you leave 50% to your spouse, then you still left with another 50%. Therefore, say that you got 2 kids, then you leave 25% to the one child and 25% to the other child. So it's got to total 100, not even 99.9. For example, you leave it to 3 people and you say 33 and a third to each one, then you're still left with a 0.1. The negative part of that is, of course, the computer will chuck that out. So you've got to give one of those 3 people a 0.1 extra to make it 100%. It's very important. What is also very important is that you are able to fill as many nomination forms during your career as possible as circumstances change. Someone is born, other times there's death in the family, then you fill in another nomination form. And the last form filled in is obviously the valid one. The others all fall away naturally. Yeah, I think we can move to the next. This is a very, very important form. It's called a choice form. Previously it had no number. It is now called ESP1 in the past few months only. If there is no spouse, then this whole thing, you did not fill in this form at all. This is only for spouses. In the past, it used to be called a widow's pension fund, which meant only the female benefited. But for many years now, the male and the female would get a spouse's pension. If, however, you don't have a spouse, you could always, if you do have a life partner, your life partner will be covered. The only difference is you've got to fill in a form and provide affidavits that you've been living with a person, and this you've got to get proof from your family and in fact from your friends and all that kind of stuff. Okay, now in the past 50% was the figure. Automatically your spouse was covered for 50% as a spouse's pension, but some years ago they changed it to 75%. So now you've got to choose between 50 or 75. If you choose 75, then obviously there's going to be some impact on your payouts and so on. On the same form, the choice form, you have to indicate whether you want a smaller gratuity, which is called the lump sum, the third portion, or if you want a smaller pension, the monthly pension. If you choose you want a smaller pension, then the figure is minus 3%. You get 3% every month for as long as you live. So if you live as a pensioner for the next 20, 30 years, that means every month you're earning 3% less. So with time, obviously that accumulates all the 3%. So I would recommend that you rather go for a smaller gratuity, which in this case is a once-off 13% deduction. So let's assume your gratuity is worth 1 million rand. So in that case, 13% is 130,000 rand. And you can actually recover that 13%, depending on the lump sum and all that, within a year or 2 years or 3 years. Let's take an example. If the pensioner is earning 20,000 a month, and had that person chosen 50%, that means the spouse would have got 10,000 rands a month. However, the one who chooses 75%, so that person would therefore get 15,000 a month. Now 15,000 a month is 50% more. So 5,000 rands extra a month in 1 year equates to 60,000 rands. In 2 years, 120. So you can say within 2 years you're recovering the 130 which they deducted from you. So it makes absolute sense to rather go for a smaller gratuity, which is 13% once off, instead of lifelong pension deduction of 3%.